celebrated chapter in here. And so Dr. Paul tells his story here, which is just like our speaker meetings. You speak for 30 minutes. I'm going to read you an excerpt.
Let me say this: the problem is people don't
People
read
don't
the
read the
whole
whole
story.
story. Then
They only read the little paragraph at
no,
the beginning of the meeting.
no. And I've sat in meetings before and read this and seen people in that meeting, old timers going, "That's not in the big book. He's not reading from the big book. That's not in there." And oh yeah, I'm reading from the big book, the fourth edition of the big book on page 410, Dr. Paul. So I immediately started taking and shooting pep pills. Eventually, I was taking 45 milligrams of the long-acting Benzedrine and 45 of the short-acting just to get out of bed in the morning. I took more through the day to increase the high and more to maintain it. When I overshot the mark, I'd take tranquilizers to level off. The pep pills affected my hearing at times. I couldn't listen fast enough to hear what I was saying. I'd think, I wonder why I'm saying that again. I've already said it 3 times. Still, I couldn't turn my mouth off. For the leveling off process, I just loved intravenous Demerol, but I found it hard to practice good medicine while shooting morphine. Following an injection, I would have to keep one hand busy scratching my constantly itching nose and would also have sudden uncontrollable urges to vomit. I never got much effect out of codeine and Percodan and the tranquilizers. However, for a period of time, I was injecting pentothal intravenously to put myself to sleep. That's the stuff used when the oral surgeon puts the needle in your vein and says count to 10, and before you get to 2, you're asleep. Instant blackout was what it was, and it seemed delightful. I didn't feel I could lie in bed and squirt the stuff in my veins while my kids and wife stood around watching me, so I kept the drug in my bag, and the bag in the car, and the car in the garage. Luckily, the garage was attached to the house. In the garage, I would put the needle in my vein and then try to figure out exactly how much medication to inject to overcome the pep pills while adding to the sleeping pills, while ignoring the tranquilizers in order to get just enough to be able to pull out the needle, jerk the tourniquet, throw it in the car, slam the car door shut, run down the hall, and fall in bed before I fell asleep. But you can't talk about drugs in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And I read that, and I will see people scrambling through their book. That's not. What's he talking about? That's the current membership of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like it or not, I had a friend of mine saying this is very true. This a lot of what's in this book is up for interpretation. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
What's not up for interpretation is when you got to explain to the mother of a 23-year-old overdose kid that died, explain to her why he didn't feel comfortable in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. That's not up for interpretation, man. So we need to really be careful the message that we carry, right? Because we're stepping over bodies. They're coming to us for help, and we absolutely can help them. And we have an obligation to do so.
Wow.
You find that, though, I mean, I've never heard that, obviously, but it just had my wheel spinning because when I see patients especially in the detox, right, like the very beginning stages of their recovery journey, those same behaviors ensue in the treatment center. Those behaviors don't change. But from my perspective, it's, hey, I'm feeling bad. Can you give me something that's going to give me energy, that's going to wake me up? Then it's, well, now I have energy throughout the day because I'm taking this medication. I'm then trying to sit down and have these conversations with these patients when you see them. But when I try to explain that to them, I am useless to them. Right. I cannot help them because how do I, after meeting them for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, explain to them that their behaviors still haven't changed? Right. They're still chasing that up. They're still chasing that down, that those behaviors still need to be addressed and haven't changed.
Here's the other importance to being educated on this and knowing that within the literature it's there, because one of the things that we face too as a center, for instance, it just is the way that it is logistically at our center at Rock. It's AA meetings are more prevalent in the area.
Yeah.
It's, for whatever reason, it's a longer drive in our van to get to NA. It's very hard logistically for us to get that done as a staff. But I'll have guys come in here, or ladies, and be like, oh, I want to do NA because I'm not allowed to talk about drugs in AA. And I have to explain to them, like, I'd love to get you to some NA meetings, you know, and when you get to IOP, you can get to some NA meetings. And I encourage that. If that's what you want to do, we're kind of bound a little bit logistically on that. As much as I'd love to be able to take you to a meeting,
out they can do that. The whole idea of not, I mean, when they, that's why I always tell them, when you get into IOP, when you're, I don't go to the same meetings that I take patients to. I don't.
Yeah.
I found my tribe. I go to men's meetings,
Mhm.
guys like me. I found my tribe. But telling somebody you can't talk about drugs in an AA meeting when drugs are part of their story, right? So like, what brought me here was crack cocaine. That's what got me into recovery. I started smoking crack cocaine at 56 or 46. I'm sorry, I'm 53 now. Um, I that's when who starts smoking crack at 46 years old? It was 2.5 decades of alcohol that got me to smoke crack, but it was crack that brought me in. So
Mhm.
when I tell my story to it, am I supposed to leave that part out?
Remember we had a patient like that here? I don't even remember him. I really liked him. He was one of the funniest guys ever. I'm not gonna say his name, but I think he was like 53 or
52.
He was 52.
Smoke crack for the first time.
Smoked
Yeah.
crack for the first time, and it just
Yeah.
ruined
Yeah.
him. It ruined his life.
Yeah.
It ruined
Within a year.
But today
or
I'm grateful.
9 months or something.
That was my
just
story. But today I'm
worse.
grateful for that, because had I not had that bottom, I might still be out there selling cocaine and drinking and going to the bars and stuff. Had I not gone to that bottom, it accelerated so quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It got you there.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too. Is like because I'll literally use that passage when I have a client sit in front of me and they're like, and I'm trying to get them to be open minded. Hey man, just for the time being, while you're in PHP, bear with it. Let me show you something in the big book. I show them that story. I also show them where it refers to his alcoholic addiction. I
Mhm.
also show them where in Bill's story he talks about morphine and sedative. So
Yeah.
it's part of his story. Dr.
Yeah.
Bob, it was a part of his story. Dr. Bob, in particular, actually would take pheno and phenobarbital
Yeah.
during the day so he could go to work, and then he wouldn't drink until night, but he was pilled out all day. Do you know what kind of doctor Dr. Bob was?
No, what kind of doctor was he?
He was a proctologist. wasn't he?
Proctologist.
Oh, really?
So you bet your ass when you go see Dr. Bob, is what they used to say.
But that's what, that you talk about that. Like, I hear a lot of people too. There's arguments. It's very controversial. There's no such thing as cross addiction. I get told that all the time, especially in this setting. Meaning, like, I have patients say, "Well, why can't I have my Adderall? That wasn't my drug of choice.
Right.
I'm an alcoholic, so I don't understand why you won't let me take my Adderall. I've never abused it. It was a prescription from a doctor. It helped me function in my life, and I think that I should be able to take that medication while I'm in this center, and I will continue to use that medication when I leave here. So you should just let me have it." I have this conversation more often than I would like to. And even I've had patients' families yell at me about it. My daughter needs her Adderall. You don't understand what you're doing to her. She's not addicted to taking Adderall. Well, the fact that you guys are both arguing that to me makes me believe that there might be a problem here,
Yeah.
guys. But I get that argument all the time. There's no, like, one, how is that an issue? There's no such thing as cross addiction. And that's just like a loaded
Well, there's cross using, because we all do that.
right.
Whiskey,
right.
cocaine, and whiskey went
So-
together like peas and carrots for me. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I could not drink. I got to the point in my alcoholism, I could not drink without Coke.
yeah.
Like it was the worst thing ever. It didn't start off like that, but when I was like into my Coke and crack use, like I had to be drinking, and I had to be doing Coke or
Yeah.
crack with it. Like it develops
Yeah,
into
was how
that.
mine was.
And I can't tell you how many cases I've come across with the Adderall, and specifically of alumni of ours that said the same thing. They got their Adderall prescription. They're going to go back to it. That end up going back to drinking because let's call it what it is. It's a speedball for them.
Yep.
You got the Adderall that's the upper, the alcohol that's a downer. They think that the Adderall's not a problem. Next thing you know, they want the alcohol to take the edge off from the Adderall, and they're back at it. I can't tell you how many readmits
yeah.
we have here at Rock
and also
over
what,
Adderall.
yeah, and going back to what you were saying with relation to the big book, why do you think that Bill W. used phenobarb during the day?
Yeah.
Phenobarb acts on your brain the same exact way that alcohol does. He was a physician. He understood that. That's why he was smart. That's why he used it during the day so he could function, so he didn't have to smell like alcohol, get wasted. He knew exactly what dose to take to make him function throughout the day because he knew.
Right.
Now that's going back to cross addiction. So if you take benzos during the day, but you're drinking at night, you're never coming off the substance. You're using two things that do the same exact thing on your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference between alcohol, a benzo, phenobarbital, zero difference. It acts on your brain and your body the same exact way.
That's what I was taught in school when I went with Tom and we met and he took me out for a burrito. We
Of course he did.
the class was pharmacology of drugs of abuse, and the term cross addiction, the way that I was taught, is the only drugs that you could be cross addicted was alcohol, benzos, and barbiturates, because you can literally replace them. Hence why in detox, like, you use benzos to come off alcohol. They used to use barbiturates, right?
So how about-
use barbiturates? Some places do. The hospital does in severe instances.
Yeah.
Most places use benzodiazepines.
So
So
they
how
can
about-
literally replace each other. Where that's like the cross addiction part. But you can't necessarily be cross addicted.
But let's
from
take out
coke
the
to
addiction
alcohol.
part, though. How about just using a substance in a manner that it's not intended for? I used to take. I'm not addicted to Xanax, never was, but I used to take it to come down from cocaine
Oh yeah.
all the time. I'm drinking, and then I just do cocaine all night, and I got to go to work the next day, and I'll take Xanax. And I'm not prescribed that Xanax. I'm not addicted to that Xanax, but I'm using it for something other than what it's used for. You know, that happens all the time.
That was the only thing I used Xanax for, was sleeping after a big
Yeah.
coke
Yeah,
binge.
it's-
But some people firmly believe and have a guided discussion with me about and trying to convince me. You don't have to convince me, is what I tell the patients. Listen,
Yeah.
I am an open mind. I am not here to tell you right from wrong. You don't have to convince me of anything. You have to convince yourself.
Right.
And it's your own actions, it's your own journey, and you're going to make whatever decisions you make and suffer the consequences of those decisions, with that.
Well,
So
And that's the can't see the truth from the false, and when their mind's not going to see that. If I got a prescription for an opiate or something, and I wasn't addicted to opiates at the time, never have been. But if you gave me if I got a prescription for Percocet when I was injured, it says my name's on the bottle. It says take 4 a day. I'm 4 on the way home. And I'm like, oh, I didn't become addicted to them, but I abused them when I had them
Yeah.
because they gave me a feeling.
Right.
I would have become addicted to them if I didn't drink so much, probably. But either way, I wasn't using them as prescribed at all.
And I liked how you talked about the current membership too. When you're
Yeah.
like how it, call it what it is. In my opinion, AA, NA, we need to change with the times. Absolutely need to change with the times. Like that.
The only thing that doesn't is our
That-
text.
For instance, I think a good line that I like bringing up. I used to read it all the time. Step over the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. That's a quote out of the big book. Like if you're questioning whether or not you're an alcoholic, it's literally telling somebody to go drink. Nowadays, you got fentanyl addicts in there.
oh,
You can't tell them, hey,
no.
step over the nearest trap and try some controlled fentanyl use. Like you can die on your first try.
Mhm.
So it's
But
like,
again, there's a difference in that allergy too.
yeah. I think it just takes longer. Yes, you'll get addicted to heroin a lot faster, but alcohol, you put enough in your system.
If you put enough in your system, but my point on that is
Yeah.
that there's people who drink all their lives, not alcoholically, but they drink all their lives. You're not going to find me one person who's done heroin all their lives at least once or twice a week and isn't addicted to heroin. You're not
Yeah,
gonna find that.
yeah, I get what you're saying. No,
Like
yeah, yeah.
alcohol is something that you can have people drink like that every week. They don't get drunk and they don't get, they have a couple drinks, they go have dinner, go to bed. That doesn't happen with crack.
No, crack.
Or
You take.
heroin.
Well, you
Or
you become
fentanyl.
addicted to it.
I don't know anyone who takes one hit of crack and stops.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
yeah, any of that stuff. But You know, again, it's the but and I have a friend of mine that talks to us all the time. If you put all these people in a room and you give them heroin every day, you've heard me say this before. If I put 20 people in a room, give them heroin every day for 30 days, I've got 20 heroin addicts at
Yep.
the end of those 30 days. There's no doubt about that. I do the same thing with crack cocaine. At the end of those 30 days, I got 20 crack addicts. There's no doubt about that. I do that with alcohol for 30 days. When they're done after those 30 days, I'm going to have whatever percent of the population are alcoholic. I'm going to have that 2 or 3 alcoholics, right? So you go back to the heroin addicts. I send all them off to detox and get them better. When they come out of detox, the same number that are the alcoholics, 2 or 3 are going to go back to heroin because they have that obsession of the mind. They're real addicts. The rest of them are going to go, oh, I'm never doing that again. And they're going to shuffle off, right? But you're going to have that percentage that has that twist of the mind, because the disease centers in the mind is what I've learned from my experience. Is disease centers in the mind. I'm always going to have an allergy to alcohol. If I pick up a drink 20 years from now, I'm gonna start drinking again, right? So it's the obsession that I need relief from, that the program relieves me. And I compare it to a peanut allergy all the time. If I have a peanut allergy and I eat peanuts and my throat closes up and I get really sick, I get really sick from the allergy of the peanuts because I ate peanuts. Once that stuff's out of my body, I'm no longer sick. I recover from the sickness of the allergy. But if I decide to try Skippy 20 years from now, peanut butter, because it's different, I'm going to get that allergy. I'm going to get sick again, and I'm going to have to recover all over again. We see it in rehab.
Going back to the cross addiction, the peanut allergy. If you're an addict like me, you're allergic to the peanuts. Next thing you know, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try walnuts.
Right.
I'm going to try hazelnuts.
Exactly.
I'm going to try cashews.
So and that's what I say when
Which
I always
ones
say
will work?
we pick up and we use on the lie. An obsession of the mind is a thought so powerful it makes you believe a lie.
Yeah.
And that lie would be, walnuts would be different. You know.
Walnuts are the crack.
Yeah.
Peanuts were the alcohol.
Yeah. So there is a difference in the two, but there's not a difference in the obsession of the mind.
Oh, nuts. Oh. Wow, that was good.
Yeah.
We got to do another one next week.
Did we shift gears there in the middle?
We did shift gears.
What did we talk about?
We should
What I
kind
did-
of close this out. I don't know what happened.
I was looking at you to see if you got it.
What?
I don't know.
We'll tell you.
Let's summarize this though.
Yeah.
That this goes back to the importance, because I want to tie in. Eric's doing the Big Book study on Mondays, straight out of the Big Book. That is where
No
the
opinion.
that is where the program comes from.
Yep.
And opinions kill alcoholics. That was one of the first things my sponsor ever told me. And you get a lot of opinions in meetings.
Okay.
As a newcomer, how's a newcomer supposed to know what is and what isn't? Hence why I opened up with my experience about that guy laying into me. And all he did was embarrass me, and I never wanted to go back to AA.
Right.
Thankfully, I had people that came into my life later on, brought me into AA, and showed me what AA really is and what it isn't, right? What's the book saying? What's it not saying? What's the actual program? For instance, gratitude lists have nothing to do with Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not part of the program. But you have 80% of the sponsors out there in the world tell you to do a gratitude list.
Yep.
Hopefully they're prefacing, hey, by the way, this is sponsor Ben's program. I'm going to have you do a gratitude
It's
list.
not necessarily a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea,
but it's not in here.
but
I
it's
mean,
not in there. And that's the importance, because, again, opinions kill alcoholics. You start watering that thing down and people start making stuff up. Don't realize Dr. Paul's story is in the back of the book. People start dying.
Yeah, and listen, I say it all the time. Your process is your process, and it's going to be different within the parameters of the 12 steps. Just because it's an opinion doesn't mean it's wrong. No,
Correct.
there's some really good opinions, but it doesn't mean it's right either. It doesn't mean you have to do that, or you're not going to, because we set people up for failure. Well, wait a minute, your sponsor doesn't tell you to call him every day. Oh, well, you better get another sponsor. I don't have my guys call me. I don't want my kids to call me every day, dude. Are you kidding me? What I want you to do is I want you to take some suggestions, and I want you to take some responsibility for yourself. That's what I want you to do. Call me when you're up here, but I don't need you to check in with me every day. But some guys do that, and that's fine. I'm not saying that you don't. It's just not what I do.
And you got to let people have their experience too.
Right.
I'm going off on another rabbit trail, but you could chime in on this. I do believe on occasion, you can't, my sponsor would say, you can't deny someone their experience.
Right.
This can tie into medication stuff too. We have a case here we were talking about Monday, and this individual really struggles with medication management. He's at a lower level of care. Overall, I'll be honest, done very well. Like for a young guy, very proud of him. He's come very far. Struggles with medication management and legitimately needs medications for depression.
Yeah.
But we, as a staff, like for instance, we bring it up like, oh, we should be managing his meds, and I went the other way and kind of suggested, is this a situation where we need to? We've been managing them. We've been helping him. We've been going to him. Did you forget your meds? Did you take them? Checking them. Is it now time where we step back, let him do what he's gonna do, fall flat on his face, within safe parameters? I ain't gonna put someone in harm's way. And
Right.
Yeah.
if they need a higher level of care, and I'm afraid of like death, like,
Right.
but however, there's sometimes, like you were just saying, you gotta let someone have their experience, step out of their way. I had to find out for me in AA what was right and what was wrong, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sometimes you have to let them struggle forward. I mean, that's with anything, kids in life. You got to
You
let them
from
learn
their
that lesson,
mistakes.
right?
Yeah, I think by us controlling that situation, it is a detriment to that person
Right.
because they are younger and there has to become a time in their life where they take initiative and they take the responsibility themselves for themselves in order to grow as a human being and to navigate life's endeavors
Mhm.
because they're not going to be in this controlled environment
Right.
forever. So I agree with you. It's better to let them quote unquote maybe fail within our controlled environment so we can actually help them see what that failure looks like to them and
Exactly.
why
Yes.
it's helpful to them to learn from that failure so we can then help them pick up the pieces and move forward.
We don't want to be
And
the
Dr. T,
enablers.
that goes right back to what I said earlier about, allowing them to, teaching them learning how to advocate for themselves. This is what I'm on. This is why I'm on it. This is where do they ever going to learn that if we don't at some point, because they're just going to come out of our care and go to an apartment somewhere, and they're never
For
going to.
sober living, and then they
Just really don't get it.
We
Right.
can't do it for them all the way up to the end.
We
Then we're
can't.
doing exactly what we tell the parents not to do.
And this goes
Exactly.
right back to what I say in AA, NA, whatever. Within those 12 steps, man, they taught me how to grow up to a point where I became whole again here, and I was able to see this stuff and able to start taking. Okay, I've got an illness. I need to fix that.
Well, they get you to the point where you can start thinking for yourself
Yourself,
again. Because
exactly.
that's another myth that I hate. Call your sponsor every day and check in with every single little problem. If you buying a new car, you better ask them what color to get. Like,
Yeah.
that's nonsense. You work those steps,
Mhm.
you get to the point where you can think on your own again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
You-
the point.
And that's it.
And know when to ask for help too. There's a healthy way to know when to ask for help.
Yeah,
Hey,
look, if you're doing it right, I mean, I'm gonna check, and that's the other thing. I do call my guys. You hear other people say all the time, "Oh, I don't call them. I'll check." Well, I call mine. If I don't hear from them for a couple days, I'll check. Hey, you all right? You doing good? What's going on? Why? I mean, the book that's what they did.
I call it the courtesy call. I call my sponsees
Well-
when I don't hear from them, and I say, "Hey, man, this is my courtesy call, dude. Like,
I just call.
I haven't heard from you. I
call-
want to check on you. It's a two-way
Yeah,
street."
I call them because I care, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that. Oh, I'm not gonna call. Oh, they
Yeah,
gotta
no
call me.
way,
They
dude.
got nothing I want, dude. Really? Like that's not like. How about? I mean, I'll get off.
But
on
that's
that.
good.
I'm with you. We're the same.
But this helps me see and understand, especially from an outsider's perspective, why it's important to be involved in something like this, to have a sponsor or have an accountability buddy, whatever you want to call it. Because, for instance, I was listening to Tom on a call today with a loved one of someone who's struggling with intermittent relapse and use, who's kind of in denial still, I guess I would say, and resistant to treatment, resistant to AA. But this is why it would be important for people like that to gain a fellowship, a relationship with someone like them in their own situation, because they have this preconceived notion that AA is like a cult or whatever negative connotation you want to say to it. But it's about accountability. It's about having someone that you can connect with. It's about having someone who went through the things that you're going through, they are going to
Yeah.
help you see your struggle because you're in denial. And they're going to help you come out of that denial, acknowledge it, accept it, and help you pave a path to move forward in. And I think that's what people who are struggling or in denial with their use, like they lack that. They need that fellowship. They need that guidance, that connection.
Yeah, and they need someone to tell them the truth about themselves. And I can do that because I was the same way.
Right.
Like I can say that to you because hey, I was that guy, man. Somebody had to tell me the truth about myself. I didn't like it, but
That's why the
you're
big book
right.
says a man armed with the facts about himself. I know Eric because I know me. Eric
Yeah.
knows me because
Yeah,
he
so
knows
when
himself.
an addict or an alcoholic's giving me the business, lying to me, I can tell. I just know, because I did the same thing. You know, like I just there's like it's like a sixth sense, you know, and
But coming from you guys, that's helpful to them.
yes,
Coming from me, it's
Right.
condescending.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know anything.
Yeah.
I'm a normie. I didn't go through it. I don't know what I'm talking about. Again, don't take it personal. It's not a dig
Mm.
at me. I respect that and I understand that when people say that to
Mm.
me. Completely get it.
Mm.
But I'm going to help you get to someone or something that you can relate to, that can help you.
But you've been doing this long enough that you can recognize the behavior as much as I can when someone's lying to you about that. You can
Yes.
recognize the behavior of the addict and the alcoholic just as well as I can.
But
and
my
you're not an alcoholic.
receptiveness is, I would say it's a
Right.
50-50
Yeah,
shot,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'll have someone tell me to go F myself,
Yeah, yeah.
or they'll be like, oh, well, tell me more.
Someone
It's
told
a
me that once.
50-50 shot. So,
It's so funny
then
though.
I'm like, hey, let me call in Eric or Ben. Maybe you
Yeah.
should meet and have a talk with them.
Right,
It's so funny that Dr. T will come out, meet with someone, will come find me. That person's so full of crap.
Like, they're such a liar.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
just
Oh, I know.
look
You
and
said it to me
smile.
before. In fact, I've been like, I think they're really. And you're like, nah.
Nah, that's bullshit.
Oh man, I feel like we're gonna keep gabbing. So
yeah,
why don't
we
we?
will.
Why don't we, in honor of Tom not being here, we'll use this line. Let's start landing the plane,
Yes.
or maybe the plane just landed.
Yeah.
The end.
Till next time.
Yeah. We started off.
Bye, live people.
We started off strong.
By the way, Raven says hi. Say hi to Raven.
Hey, Raven, how
Hey,
you doing?
Raven. You know Raven?
Yeah, I know.
I
her
don't
from,
know Raven.
Yeah, that's cool. She's on there. She's on her big book study. Yeah.
Oh,
She's
nice.
going after it. It's good.